Hi everyone, my name is Eric. I am a former competitive figure skater, and this is my figure skating reaction series. For those of you who don't know me, I am a 5-time US National Championships competitor through the senior level. I trained for about 15 years in the Chicagoland area with top coaches, including most recently Olympic coach Denise Myers. So long story short, I know my stuff. Let's get started. I'm so excited to have you on, Calista, for this women's event at the 2022 Beijing
Yes.
Olympics kind of recap, discussion, whatever. So before I forget, I'm going to give Calista's bio because she is a decorated figure skater and very amazing. So Calista
Thank
is
you.
a 2019 to 2020 Team USA member and junior Grand Prix competitor and a US National Championships junior bronze medalist and novice national champion. I'm excited to say that Calista and I grew up training together and in Chicago. And so I'm excited to have you on today, Calista.
Thank you for having me, Eric. I'm excited as well.
Okay, yay. Okay, so today, for just to let everyone know, we're gonna plan to focus on the top 7 finishers at the event, but we'll leave room at the end to talk about anyone else that we want to talk about. Also, oh, random note, this is like a personal note of gloating maybe, but if you go back and watch my Olympic predictions with Junsu Kim, besides Kamila, who arguably doesn't count, anyways, I think I actually predicted the top 5 in the exact right order. Just wanted to mention that. Okay, so let's start off with, first of all, Callista. So
Yes.
overall, looking at like the top 7,
Mhm.
um, do you think that number one, that the ranking was fair for the 7, and number two could be the same or different question, but do you think that the scoring was fair?
Yeah, so personally, I think that the ranking was pretty fair. I will say that I did enjoy Kaori skate a lot more than Trusova's just because I feel like she had so much more like elements in the choreography, a much better story, and it wasn't just all about the jumps. There was definitely more like expression, body movement, and I think overall like a much pleasing program. While Trusova, she did do the quads, but I don't know. I just feel like you kind of get lost in just the jump, 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 jump. And you kind of lose the program's like composure overall. But I will say that Anna, she did skate pretty well. And I think out of all 3 Russians, she definitely has the most artistic and kind of flowy, enjoyable, skating posture to watch. So that's just like kind of my way in.
Okay. Yep, I pretty much agree with you. I thought that the like rankings basically were like mostly fair, but I just thought the like especially top 2 scores were
Mhm.
just a little bit out of hand. But we can dive more into that.
Yeah,
So
they were pretty
yeah,
insane.
they were huge. Okay, great. So let's just dive into each skater then. We'll start with Alyssa, and then we'll go up from there. So let's start with Alysa Liu. What did you think of her? And you can comment on like short or long program, whatever your overall thoughts are.
Yeah, so I mean, for Alyssa, this being her first Olympics, I think she handled the pressure really well. For her age and for what she could do at the moment, I think she performed pretty great for herself. Um, she definitely looked like she enjoyed every moment of the Olympics, especially at the end of her program. She was fist pumping in the air and I don't know, just made me smile overall. But kind of getting into the content, I think playing it a little safer in the short really did her justice because if she did go for that triple axel, which we know that it's not necessarily going to be clean, I think that could have definitely altered her placement, probably a little lower. And then in the long program, I'm really glad she went for it and she stood up, which is a lot better, obviously, than under rotating and falling. And I think overall, like her jump content was definitely to her abilities, and she executed everything like perfectly. So
Yeah. Well, except for the triple axel that did get a downgrade.
Except for the triple axel, you are right. But,
Yeah.
besides that, everything was good for
Yeah.
her.
I really agree. I'm so happy for her. I feel like after so many people hating on her, which by the way, I have a YouTube video on that, all the coaching situations that were going on with all the switching of the coaches and her seemingly being perhaps unhappy, who knows exactly, her physical growth. So after everything that's gone on, and also even I think some people didn't think that she should be named to the Olympic team. Partially, she had COVID, so she couldn't skate in the long program at nationals. But after all of that, she still just like went and killed it out there. And she is like the most consistent American woman, and she has been recently, or one of them at least. And so, yeah, I'm so happy for her. I think that like the triple axel downgrade, whatever, it still landed. It still looks great. It's still like a clean program, even though that wasn't a completely clean, like it was still a clean program. So really happy for her. I think also the whole like kind of smile, I don't know. I feel like this Olympics, there was a lot of like dark clouds or things that made people unhappy. But when you see someone skate like that and have that much of a smile and like happiness, that like is part of what the Olympics are all about and why people want to watch skating and all of that. So that made me really happy. I'd be kind of curious to see if she keeps skating after this or if she's done or whatever.
Yeah, and I know that for Alyssa, especially with this pressure after she won nationals, like what was it, 2 years ago, right?
Yeah, I think so.
That sort of pressure for someone as young as she was, and especially her name getting out not only from the skating community but also to people who know nothing about skating, just because of how talented she was, how young she was, and I think that sort of high stake, everything she could lose, you know what I mean, could probably really be detrimental to someone's mental health. And I think with Corona and everything, I just really hope that she is doing better and that she will kind of take those, especially like you said, really mean comments and to like a little bit of just a grain of salt,
Exactly. And we can even talk about this with like all the top skaters, even like, the Russian women or girls, like so young, which is already potentially just an issue that we have to address in the skating community. These girls are so young, and then the amount of attention they have on them and people just willing to be so negative. And so she really pulled through and just made the Americans happy.
Definitely
as well.
A proud moment.
Yeah, I was so happy for her. Okay, great. Also random thing I did want to note. So I think the whole conversation about pre-rotation, which we don't have to like get into that much here. I think I was watching maybe the short program and remember, like, some people are like, oh, pre-rotations, like all the Russians are doing it, or it's like the Russians are bad, they're doing all this bad technique. But like, it's also a lot of other people who are doing that. And Alyssa's definitely one of them. So I don't know, people just want like an example of someone else who's not Russian, who's doing severe pre-rotation on even those triples. And again, it's not really super punished right now. So it's kind of whatever, but probably not ideal technique. She is someone that does do that. Yeah.
Yes. And I think a couple years ago when some of our coaches were asking us to do pre-rotation,
asking?
Especially, no, I guess you're right. Making us try pre-rotation technique.
I didn't know that. Okay, not in my day. I think I must have moved on.
In my day, our coaches were trying to make us do pre-rotation technique, and a lot of us, especially me, suffered ankle injuries just because I was very used to the more traditional non-pre-rotated technique. And now I was being asked to, bend my ankle in an unnatural way to do a jump takeoff on, for example, a flip or a let's or even a toe. And it was, for me, just not possible and very frustrating, especially when, the sort of expectation to, do what the Russians could do.
Exactly. No, that's so true. And it's an interesting question. I think some people have been asking me in the comments, like, do you think this is why everyone's injured? First of all, there's so many reasons why people get injured.
For sure.
But I will say exactly what you're saying is like, it's actually very different if you're taught from the young age of doing a certain kind of technique versus if you're learning it later on. For example, like, like my single axle, whatever, I wasn't really taught to skid. And then on a double axle, my coach was just like, you have to skid, you have to skid. I'm like, I literally cannot, like, I just cannot do that on an axle.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing, right? Even like trying to learn pre-rotation, twisting your ankle, that could cause injury. I don't know if you're learning that as your baseline technique from the start. I don't know if that makes you more likely to get injured or whatnot. But yeah, that is something that I feel like would be really hard to actually actively learn.
Yeah, and especially, like you said, learning it from a young age and basically the first technique you'll ever learn. I think having that being taught first to you rather than switching back and forth will be, I don't want to say safer or like better to use, but definitely less harmful on the body. Whereas someone like me trying to learn a
Yeah.
completely different technique than something that I've literally been doing my whole skating career could lead to a lot of different injuries just because you're unsure of exactly how this technique is supposed to, be working. So,
Exactly.
making corrections is difficult. But
Yeah.
sorry, that went on a
No worries.
tangent.
Yes,
But
I chose to go on that tangent, so definitely. Okay. So next, let's go to Young Yu. So yeah,
yes.
I can start. I thought that she was so good overall. Wow, both the short and the long. I guess the short, they said that axel was downgraded. I was surprised. I'm just like, how can you even land a triple axel that's there?
Mm.
I don't know. I thought it was more underrated in general. I thought the calls were really harsh on some of the skaters who were like not in the top like three or
Yeah, in my
four.
notes, I also had it as an under rotation, not a downgrade. But
Yeah, so I don't know. I thought she was so good. Her long program was amazing. She looked so focused.
yeah,
I feel like in the past when I've seen her, like she's kind of been inconsistent, or I don't know, but this is one of those where I feel like like she had an Olympic moment, which by the way got really overshadowed. I feel like by a lot of the other things that were
oh,
going on, but she like
I think so as
was like
well.
nailing it in the long program like she had never nailed it before. And so, anyways, she's flying into those triplets, triple toes, whatever. So beautiful, really on the music.
Hmm.
Oh, it reminded me of like not because she's Korean necessarily, but because of Yuna Kim, 2010, the second half when she does like a spread eagle into a double axel triple toe, like such a beautiful
Oh,
moment. Like she
yes,
did basically
yes.
that. So I think that Young was really underrated and underscored at this
Mm.
Olympics. And something that stood out to me, I generally have been watching on Peacock, but then this time I was watching a replay, so I was actually listening to Tara and Johnny commenting on it, and Tara said something like, "Oh, components aren't her strong suit because," or something like that, and I was like, "No, I think her components are actually pretty good, like her crossovers, her speed, the music interpretation of music, but because we all know that someone like her is going to get lower components, this isn't just my opinion." So that's why you have to kind of explain it as a commentator. Otherwise, it might confuse people because people could be like, "Wow, that could be top three to me." You know what I mean? So, anyways,
Mm.
that's just kind of my thoughts on that. Also, like GOEs, she'll consistently only get top +2, +3 max, whereas other people like Kamila Valieva in the team event was getting +5s on her triple flip, and I was just like, "What is going on?" So, anyways, amazing Olympic moment for her, in my opinion.
Yes, definitely. Looking on my notes, I did note her music choice. And I feel like, especially this being an Olympic year, I was really looking for, I don't want to say just original pieces from everyone, but something that was, clearly Olympic worthy music. And I really think Young's choice of music was great. It was unique. It was something I've never heard before. And I think, especially when you hear the same pieces over and over and over again without some sort of alteration, it gets a little repetitive, a little boring. You know what's going to
Yeah.
happen next in the crescendo and, the rhythm and, everything else. And I think just having this unheard of music was a great refresher. I did note again, like I said, on the triple axel, possibly an under rotation. The landing was quite tight.
Yeah.
Um, the Let's Toe was beautifully placed on the ice. I think you see a lot of skaters jumping really close to the wall, whereas she kind of angled it a little bit right of the ice, but
Mm-hmm.
also more in the center, like more pushed up, which I thought just gave a great run out after that triple toe.
Yeah.
In her step sequence, the facials were also nicely done. That
Yeah.
eye contact with the judges is really important in making that like really strong connection and kind of just creating this bond and being like, hey, give me this Joey, like
give me the
step
points.
sequence is amazing. Exactly, give me the points. And I feel like some skaters really lack that in terms of just connecting with the judges, because they're the people who are giving you, your points, your GOE. And if you're not trying to make an effort to try to somehow be connected with them in this, 4 minutes that you have, like 2 minutes that you have, then, you're losing something. So I really wanted to, point that out, because that can be really difficult for some skaters.
Yeah. Quick note, can you hear that in the background? My roommate's taking a shower. Is it okay?
No.
Okay, as long as it's like okay.
It.
Okay, we're gonna just blow past it.
Right.
Okay, so yeah, no, I agree with the performance, and that is one of the things where I think something like the performance component mark has really been like overlooked in a way, like something, like making the eye contact and really feeling like I don't see that. I feel like as much with all the skaters, and I feel like that's been a little bit undervalued, and I think that's really important. I always remembered one of our old coaches would say, I don't know if they said this to you, but like for a step sequence, rewatch Michelle Kwan, I think 2004, Tosca, LOM program, when they're just like so passionate. Obviously, they're not doing the clusters and the fancy things that we were doing, but that connection with the whole entire audience, I think that does count for something in an Olympic moment and should be reflected in the PCF.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Moving on to Wakaba Higuchi. Yes. So you can start.
Yeah. So okay, I think we have to mention the triple axel.
Yes.
That triple axel, like, to be honest, I wasn't really expecting it. I was like, okay, maybe she's gonna play it safe in the short, just get the points, get the GOE, and then in the long, just go all out, depending on where she was placed. I will say the height, amazing. But I don't know if it was just me. I could hear a little bit on that landing. It seemed like it was a little flat-footed. And the free leg was a little wide, but she covered it up so nicely because of her, experience in skating, where even if the landing isn't perfect, a lot of, pro athletes can cover that up, And I think she did a really nice job of just keeping herself still and really just focusing on, the landing. Like, I did it, you know what? It looks nice. The height was amazing. I just got to commend her on that. The triplets, triple toe on my notes, it looked a little under-rotated and a little tight on that landing. But again, a lot of the Japanese, a lot of the Korean skaters have amazing speed and flow into their jumps. And I think Wakaba really did reflect that. And again, on her step sequence, it was emotion packed. It was movement packed. It was nice. And especially that forward outside Twizzler she does with her head up shows like a really great range of movement, and kind of like that'll put you off balance. You know what I mean? No one does twizzles without their head being completely straight.
Yeah,
and
hard.
That sort of unique twizzle was like, ooh, like wow. So, yeah.
I love you bringing that specific moment. I vaguely remember that, but that's like a perfect example of something where who knows if it looks hard to like someone who's not skating, but it's like really hard, and that's really challenging to do, especially when you're so tired and stuff. So really quickly, well, first of all, if you want to talk about flat-footed landings, we'll have to talk about Anna's quad flip later, which was like boom. But anyways,
boom.
Wakaba's triple axel I thought was good. I think maybe the one in the short was a little bit better, but like I just think her triple axel is generally really impressive. And for example, I talk about this. I think I talked about it in the other video, but like her getting +2s on a triple axel in like across the board versus like Anna getting +3s on her like double axel or something like, or +3 or 4. I was like, I don't know, like the triple axel is so much more impressive to me. And I get that you're doing transitions in and out, but for me, like if you're just going like telegraphing a little bit into the triple axel, like if it looks so nice, I think it's like a really big moment. Anyway, so I thought that was great. So my hypothesis is that someone like her, like she's not super used to like landing that triple axel all the time and doing the rest of the program. So if like she hit that triple axel and she's like, oh my God, like I hit it again after the short and the long. And I think that could contribute to a loss of concentration on the triple X triple toe, which was a little bit off. So I think
Yeah,
that
in the
that's why you
short.
always,
Yeah.
you know, train. Like there is something to be said about like the Olympic moment, like you're pulling it out at the last minute. But that's also why, like, if you're not training it, it could
Mhm.
throw you off because you're not used to doing it all the time. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so I think she let it go a little bit in the program. It's like a little bit shaky, but she's such a beautiful skater. Had a beautiful program, huge jumps. The judges were not gonna let her. I almost. This is sounds weird, but I was telling someone else like I almost am glad she didn't do like a perfect program because if she did and didn't medal, I'd be like so pissed. But like now it's at least
Oh,
like you know what I
yeah.
mean.
Yeah.
But yeah, the step sequence so great. So I
Mhm.
just I love the Lion King whole program. Yeah,
It was a really great Olympic moment for her as well.
yeah. Okay, going on to Sasha. I don't have like a ton to say. By the way, really sad to see like afterwards, like all the drama and she was crying and all that. But it was very impressive, obviously, just like the jumps basically. Although there's some under rotations as oh, I don't know if maybe I do have a let me see if I really quickly have. Yes, I think I have Polina Edmonds like tweeting about this. I took a screenshot of it because it's like, yes, she did five quads. However, the quad flip had an incorrect edge takeoff. The quad lutzes do have massive pre-rotation, which arguably should or should not count. Two step out, sloppy
Mm,
landings, you know. So it's not technically like perfect, right? Even though there is five
yeah.
quads, but it is really impressive. Um, I will
Mm,
say that, yeah, like the components, don't even remember what all the components are. She gets
yeah.
a 9.0 in skating skills, which are, there's a variety of things that go into it, but a lot of it's like really good, like good crossover and stuff. And like, that's just not really correct. In fact, I don't know if you saw this, Calista. I have it pinned, I think, on another one of my videos, but there was someone who, I think they might be a coach or something, and there's like a coaching training from ISU. Like, here's an example of a skater with this amount of component skills. And they used an example of her Cruella program from last Worlds or whatever, and we're like, this should be in the tier of like 4 to 5 in skating skills or something like that. But then they still gave her like
Wow.
7, 8, 9, whatever. And here
Wow.
she got an
Wow.
average of 9 on a skating skill. So it's like even the
Yeah.
ISU thinks that she shouldn't be getting these marks. You know what I mean? But and I don't know what exactly how that happens. But you know, quads just are not a skating skill. So
Yes, yes.
yeah,
And just bouncing off of that, I have the sheets pulled up, and in transitions, she got an 8.57, which is shocking
there's
because
no
there were
transitions.
there were no
No transitions.
transitions. Um, I agree. The jumping is impressive. She's explosive. She's fast.
Yes, yes.
But this is a program. You're supposed to be telling a story, and how can you be telling a story with jumping patterns? They're not transition patterns in a program. Those are jumping patterns, like practice jumping patterns. Let me be specific.
Yeah,
Something that I would do outside of a program. There was
that's true. That's
there
true.
was no story. It was just, do the jumps, try to get everything done, like fight for it. Again, I have no crazy content,
Yeah.
like insane content to be doing quads in second half.
Quad Lutz is in
Like
the second
that's
half. It's crazy.
quad lutz
Which
in second half.
I do think that you should be allowed to do that. Like just forget the program, just do the quads, but be scored accordingly. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
You can go
But
she could
again,
still that's why I think she could still be second
yeah.
place if they gave her more fair component marks, maybe. You know? Maybe I don't know. It could be.
But even so, like you're looking at these transition marks, and it's an 8.57. That is obviously an above average transition mark for something that had
Yeah.
no program
Yeah.
transitions. Let's be
Yeah.
specific.
Yes.
Program transitions, not necessarily like skating patterns are in transitions, but they're just not meant to be used in a
No.
program.
And I think that there's one of the problems with ISU judging is also like if a skater gets for example, a component in the short program, they just give them like the same in the long, pretty much, right? So I think in the short program when they're
Yeah.
doing less quad, like for example, even a Kamila, like a lot of people said this season, she has a beautiful short program. She does a lot of transitions in and out of the jumps, all this stuff. But then the long program, it's not. So I think that should be very much reflected in this for like the transitions. If you're
Yes.
doing transitions in the
Yes.
short, in and out of the jumps, and like you're skating in all these different directions and forward and backwards and all that. Give it in the short and then slash it in the long, because that's what it should be. Don't give the same, like the similar marks,
Yeah, and I'm looking at the short notes as well, and I did say that she had great like eye contact, and the program overall looked like a program. And I do agree with that kind of like ideology of just in the short, you know what, the jump content is considered lighter. Let's put all this like creativity into the short, and the long just pull out just the jumps.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. I feel like I'm going to step back from my skating role and just be an observer. From an observer's point of view, right? The long program is longer. It's a lot easier to be distracted and just look away and, not really be focused, right? And I think if, you want to please everyone, which I'm not saying that they have to, but kind of just, from an aesthetic point of view, I think it can be really disappointing for people who are at least trying to get into skating. They see a program like this, they're like, well, is that it?
Mm-hmm.
But no, her jump content is impressive, and no one can take that away from her. So
yes.
Yeah.
Also, I'm so sorry. I completely missed. I was looking at my notes in the skating order, and I wasn't even going on the actual order, which I said I would. But we skipped to second place, but that's fine. We'll go back
It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, it's fine. We had 7, 6, 5, 2. So now we're going back to 4. Kamila. Okay? Does that sound good?
Okay.
Oh, sorry, I literally messed that up.
Are you sure you want to go to Kamila? Kamila now.
What do you think? We don't have to.
I feel like there's a lot to unpack in that program.
That's true. Should we go to Kaori?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do Kaori. She was next in my notes, actually, anyway. Okay, Kaori Sakamoto. What did you think of her?
Okay. I love her skating, especially even from the 2018 Olympics, when she's really started to get this sort of hype in the Japanese skating community and in the international skating community. I immediately was like, that's the type of skater that I want to be. She was soft. Yeah. Her jumps were light. The flow and the length that she gets on her jumps with great jump technique is impressive. It really is impressive. And for them to be aesthetically soft and pleasing is just on another level. You know what I mean? But yeah, so I have really, really, really flowy as one of my notes, because it's true. She is really, really flowy. The double axel in the short, the triple lats in the short, and the flip toe in the short, just all executed perfectly. And especially her step sequence, the eye contact, the edges, the character, and I think Benoit did a really great job on that program as well. And she really delivered. And I think, a choreographer can choreograph a program, but it's really up to the skater to take that choreography and make it their own, like add their own personality to it. And I really think Kaori does an amazing job at that. So, yeah.
Yeah, totally agree. I think I posted this on my Instagram story today, but I was like, a friend was texting me and they were saying like, yeah, Kaori's double axel, the first one in the program, makes you almost forget about Trusova's quads. Like it's that good. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's just a double versus a quad. Yeah. And it's that impressive. Yeah. And also, I think that Kaori's not necessarily the most like artistic skater, but she combines athleticism with like beautiful, like I guess artistry and like PCS marks. You know what I mean? And like the message and stuff like that. So I think that's such a great example of someone like you don't have to be, doing ice dance on or I don't know theater on ice to be like getting PCS marks. No, that's not what people are asking for. But like in your own way, and like that's exactly what she does.
Yes. And her music choices again really original. Definitely an Olympic worthy, composure of music, both in the short and the long. And,
it's the same music, I think.
What do you mean?
It's like the same song, I think. It's like carried on or something like that. I think it's a whole message.
Yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
I think, that's in general is really original. You know what I mean? So, one can appreciate that. I appreciate it.
I 100% appreciate it too. Like, I think that's one of the programs I will definitely go back and rewatch, or both of the programs actually.
Yeah. Yeah. And I also want to just add that I think she's performing at like the best that she's ever performed in her whole skating career. Her
Yeah.
consistency and overall just effortlessness throughout the program is the best I've ever seen her do. So, you know, this was her Olympics
Yes.
to medal in. This really was going to be it. And, you know, I'm really happy that she pulled it off. So, yeah.
I'm so happy for her too. Also, just to have someone who's not Russian in the top three
Yes.
was also, it's just nice. Yeah, breath of fresh air, I guess. And yeah, so that was really great. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to go to Anna or Kamila?
Let's go to Anna first.
Okay. Oh wow, you're gonna say Kamila. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I can start with Anna. I mean, I don't know how she does it. Okay, like she is so gritty. I do not understand, and I'm gonna give her as I feel like I always try to give everyone the maximum benefit of the doubt. I know that there's intense scrutiny on Russia and on Terry's camp with doping and whatever else training methods, but barring all of that kind of stuff, what she did was so impressive. She really did combine the athleticism with the artistry, with some caveats I'll mention in a sec, but she was super impressive. Like she has not done those quads since she was tinier, like that, like 2 quads in the program and all of that. Like she has not been able to do that very consistently like this season, and to pull it out there, that was definitely an Olympic moment. I think they were clean, although very flat-footed. You like heard the landing,
Yeah.
or at least I did.
Yeah.
So the grit is insane. And let's see. So yeah, with that, like I do think that she should win, and she was really consistent. She got that Lutz loop. Oh, she usually does that, but she like lost it at Europeans for a hot second. But anyways, I do think that she was way overscored in components. If you look at her crossovers, for example, which I was talking to some other people about the other day too, like she doesn't. And I'm not saying mine are like much better, but I was also like not a great PCS skater, and I feel like I have similar crossovers to Anna Shcherbakova, and she's the Olympic champion. So, and it's like she moves her arms a lot, and like I don't know, and it takes a lot of crossovers to get more speed and stuff like that. I just think that it's not the. I think Kaori has like better components. You know what I mean? Like the speed and the artistry and all of that. I mean, I think it's well done, but I think that it is really overscored. But anyways, I think that she's a true like what she did really demonstrated like Olympic rising up to the occasion. She won, even though people were saying she shouldn't even be on the team from Russia. So very happy for her. Although also we have to talk about maybe later, but I don't know, at the end, just the whole like, it's like an Olympic gold medal performance, or like she won the gold and then she's just like sitting there like awkward.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
That was yeah. Anyways, what do you think?
That was, yeah. So, you know, going back to her components, again, her jumps are, you know, not surprisingly perfect Russian technique. They are sometimes a little flat-footed, which I get worried about her back because I know, you know, that amount of pressure coming down and having not really a toe ball glide sort of moment can be really hard on one's like knees and back and
pre-rotation too.
And pre-rotation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I agree with you on her components, but I also think that the Russians just do such a great job of accentuating each skater's strong suit and skating skills. So like making their programs around the skater and not kind of just like, you know what I mean? The choreography is like for the skater and not necessarily like just like what the choreographer comes up with, if that makes sense. So, and especially like the music choices, it's just made to like accentuate each skater's strong suit.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that could also hide some of the lack in skating skills. But again, overall, I really do think that Anna's programs, again, like I said before, are better than Alexandra's, or in this case, also better than Kamila's. I will say on her jumps, like the Russians do a really interesting like exit where I noticed a couple of them having body movement after their jumps. So it's like a leaning forward with some sort of arm movement forward, or,
Yeah.
especially the really high like leg on free
Yeah.
leg, just showing that
Always do
extension.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's really interesting. And I think that also just makes it more of like a Russian technique. Um,
Okay,
so
so
yeah.
I agree with you to an extent. They do try to
Mm-hmm.
highlight each, skater's strengths. Obviously, or Alexandra is just like do the jumps, right? For example, and the speed is she does have really good speed, Sasha Trusova, but
Mm-hmm.
I think that a lot of times they seem like they end up just using the same choreography basically throughout the seasons. So like I don't think I'm seeing anything new or original from Anna's choreography from previous seasons. Maybe it's like great tailored to herself, but it all looks kind of the same to me. Whereas I feel like with other skaters, they can have very different programs. But I will say that that's also kind of how you win in the ISU. Someone like Nathan Chen kind of does the same thing, even though I think he has good PCS, but a lot of the programs, like the layout's the same, which makes sense because you're doing such hard jumps. But so I'm a little bit cynical with that part. And then and I talked about this in another video a little bit, but I think that the whole like doing a transition or like an arm movement or something after a jump, like yes, but it gets a little old when it's the same leg thing or just demonstrating your flexibility, or it's just to get the it's like just to get the GOE, which the point of a GOE partially, right? Like a transition in and out, it's to show the effortlessness, which they do have definitely, and also to show kind of how hard it is. But and we can talk about this also with the arms up in the air thing. At a certain point, I don't think it's any harder for the skater. Definitely, it's just how you trained it. So you're just awarding like if some of them used to only do all of their jumps with arms over the head, like should that be getting like a plus one or two in GOE every single time for every jump? Like I don't know, like that gets a little bit much for me. And same with like the transitions in and out, but it is how I feel like you win in the IJS right now.
Yeah, and I think it kind of also has to go with like what's difficult for the skater, which, rules are rules
The rules
set
are
for
rules.
everyone and they
Yeah,
can't individualize the
yeah,
rules, right?
yeah.
And also, if you're going to take kind of, let's go back to the landing positions, right? So mostly every other skater has like a similar landing, right? And it's always going to be the same. So I do agree with having some sort of, if you're going to do a difficult exit, and if even that would be considered a difficult exit, I think that'd just be more for like, GOE, like you said as well. That it would be, have more variation, if that makes sense. So, we see a lot of skaters just doing, I want to call it the traditional landing, very much like
Just
90
yeah.
degree, 45-degree leg on the landing, arms out. And they do that every time. Whereas like if a skater would do that, maybe let's say 30% of the time and the rest of the time having some sort of, interesting
True.
exit or entrance, then that would definitely justify having like keeping that sort of movement in the program. Whereas like the Russians, they just do similar landings every time, though it's not necessarily like the traditional landing, it's the same landing, which does, I understand, get old. So, just having some sort of variation between like not even just the Russians, but all skaters would kind of justify, if that makes sense, having that in the program.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think there's like it's like limitations, right? Like some people like with the arms up or the head, there's like maybe you can only do a few throughout the program. Or with the transitions, maybe you shouldn't limit it, but if you can do different transitions for different like jumps or something like that. Like yeah,
Yeah,
I guess or
yeah,
like between the short
yeah.
and the long, because oftentimes you see the same one. So I don't know. I think it's just like a balance of like creativity, but also you can't be so creative where you're losing the consistency. And I get that it's so hard. So, but I do that think
Exactly.
that
Yeah.
people who have more original programs or more original whatever should get reward for that. So it's kind of hard. Yeah.
Yeah. And I also do feel like we're talking a lot about the Russians, but
Mm.
again, they are kind of one of the main topics in
Yeah.
this. Um, I do feel like a lot of people like look at the Russians, they're like, okay, well, what are they doing? Right? Because they're obviously the ones getting the most points in the world right now. They're like, okay, what are they doing? Let's see what we can do to match them. right? And I feel like that's where skating is sometimes losing its creativity,
Mm-hmm.
whereas people are just trying to copy other people because they're getting the
Yeah.
points. And there's not a lot of, individualism, if that makes sense. Everyone's just conforming to one technique or to one ideal, whereas like I feel like skating is not just about like the sport. It's also about an art.
Yeah.
So, and if you think about it, copying someone else's art is plagiarism. So
That's true. I
I
think
mean,
it's,
I'm not saying, you know what I mean?
yeah,
But
I know
it's
what you mean,
just,
exactly what you mean. I think getting inspired by other people, like, sure, but yeah, I think that makes sense. I think with something like technique, it can be okay to like copy, but in this case, for example, like, I don't know, if I were a coach, I don't think I'd be like trying to get everyone to do Anna's technique on a quad flip, bending the leg like that. Like,
yeah,
great for her, like, so impressive that she can do that, but like, that's not, you know what I mean? Like that, and you were talking the
it's
pre-rotation,
not for
like,
everyone.
it's not for
Yeah.
everyone. Yeah. So, and also, even if you're trying to copy, for example, technique from the Russians, like you don't have the same training environment. It's not possible, you know. Like if
Yeah.
you watch, some of the like interviews with like Atari and all that stuff. Even for example, with Elena Zakitova, they had to get her to like not live with her parents for like months leading up to the Olympics because the parents are, if they're involved, then it's worse or whatever. And I think a lot of coaches do talk about that. Like the best parent is the one that's like lets the coach do everything. But like that's, I think that's debatable in a lot of ways, but also that's just not like what's going to happen in America. Like right in the U.S.,
It's not realistic.
it's
Yeah.
not realistic. The parents are paying. There's all these different things that you can't just like copy what they're doing. And also, even if you copy the
Yeah.
exact same program, you're not going to be getting the score
No.
inflation anyway. So, yeah, it's hard.
No. Yeah. And it's also, each skater to their own technique. And I think, people getting caught up in just what's working for other people,
Yeah,
they kind of just lose, why they started coaching with that technique, or, it just, there's a lot of variables, I think.
yeah, that makes sense. Well, speaking of that, I guess we should go on to Kamila Valieva.
I guess.
Yeah, my heart really, like, I was like on the verge of tears after she skated. I felt really sad for her and like the whole situation. But yeah, I guess, what do you think?
Yeah. I mean, let's just start off. This is really unfortunate for something like this to be happening to someone who's as young as 15. When I was 15, what are we, like freshmen in high school?
Yeah,
Freshmen, sophomores in high school, like that's really young. And just the mental toll for not only just an Olympic event, but also an Olympic event with everything else it's just really disappointing, I think, for not only just her, but her coaches and the people who support her. But just kind of getting into her program. Let me find my notes for the short. Oh, here we go. So she does the triple axel with the arms, which she does always, and it's usually really amazing. But on the short, I think maybe she got a little off axis on that takeoff. Maybe she didn't like get through the toe, and that's why she was like over rotating
off axis all
and
over the
stepping
place
out.
in the short and the long.
Yeah, which who knows? Maybe that was an environmental factor. Maybe it was everything else. But she kept her composure like she always does in the short, and flip with the arms, amazing. The let's toe with the arms, also great. And I don't know, for some reason, I feel like her jumps usually look a little bigger. Maybe it was the camera angle on TV, but they just felt like they were, a little bit smaller. Not saying that they weren't, still great technique and, great jumps overall. But I don't know, I just felt like in the team event especially, they just looked a little bit more powerful.
Yes. The difference is crazy if you go back and look. Yeah. Just from a few days later.
A few days, but especially with everything that happened between.
It makes sense. Yeah.
It makes sense. But again, the step sequence was emotional, eye contact, kind of just checking off the boxes of, what the judges would want to see on, based on components.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. On that note, actually, I don't know. So much of skating, and we say that with a lot of sports is like mental, right? Like 90% mental or 95, whatever, and physical.
Yeah.
And I do not think this was at all a physical, like, I don't know, some people are theorizing about doping, whatever. I don't think it was at all. It was like very much a mental between between the team event and the
How could it
and
not be,
event.
right? You know what I
Exactly.
mean?
It's just a few days later. And yeah, like it manifested in, it's like in skating, I don't know, like when you're really in shape and you're really confident, it just gives you that extra bit of like being up in the air. Like sometimes her quad toe just looks so huge at Russian Nationals. It was like so huge. Same with the team event. And you get like that extra bit of tightness. And then when you're mentally like not quite there, it just does not work. And it's like the mental manifests in the physical. And if you don't, yeah, I feel like it was so clear to see. And then I feel like in the long program, my note was like, I feel like I could see her and everything unwinding as she was skating in the program. You know,
Yeah.
in skating, we're always taught skate in the moment. We're always taught you fall on the first thing, doesn't matter, get back up and do the rest. Like all those things, which I'm sure she obviously knows. But with all the pressure and everything that's going on, like I don't even think it's like she did kind of like give it up, and not in like about, but she just was like losing it was just all unwinding. And I feel like you could see it in her
Yeah.
eyes, like everyone's watching, she's unwinding, she like can't do it. I felt so bad to have like for her to have like a meltdown like that.
Yeah, and I don't want to say that she was, I don't know, I don't want to say she was losing it, but I also feel like she was just trying the best that she could in that moment. You know what I mean? She was trying the best she could at that moment, and
She couldn't give any more in that moment.
you're right, she couldn't give any more. And I think that, again, with the pressure and everything that was going on, I don't know. My heart really did go out to her during that skate because, you know, like you said, you could see it in her eyes. You could see it in her movements. She was doing the jumps, but she really wasn't physically there or even really mentally there. I think she was, you know, definitely racing ahead to the next thing that was going to happen, or maybe even what was going to happen when she got off the ice with her coaches, because, you know, you don't know about that environment or anything.
Or thinking about that she just fell or whatever it was. It was just not there.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's really like sad to see a skater go through that, because, you know, you and I have definitely had performances, you know, in front of, maybe not, it was at the Olympics, but in front of people we cared about, or, you know, thought as like higher up people, you know what I mean? Even just at regular competitions, just having a skate like that really, really puts you down. And now take it to the Olympics. The pressure is, it's all with the name. You know what I mean? You're still on the ice, still with some judges, but it's like Olympics. And I think just having that added pressure with the name and the environment just became too much of her, especially in the moment when she's skating and doing her program. Like, someone would have to be superhuman to be able to mentally just take everything away and just act like a machine.
Which she almost was at going into this. Like, she was kind of superhuman in a way.
I think she was trying to, but at a certain point, like, you can only try so much with especially mental capabilities. And, you know, it's the long program. This was going to be her last program at the Olympics, and who knows what's going to happen after she steps off of that ice and goes home.
Yeah.
Right?
I hate to think. I don't know.
I mean, and I don't want to, you know, speculate about, you know, something bad is going to happen or this and that, but based on, you know, the series of events and, like we mentioned earlier, this investigation that's going to be going on into the place where she trains, it's not going to be normal. And isn't she competing at Worlds too?
I don't know. I feel like at this point, whoever's scheduled for Worlds, who knows who's going to go and who's not going to go. So, and I don't know if she's allowed. Yeah, I guess she might be scheduled, but it's like, will she even be allowed to compete there?
Yeah, that is true. I mean, she was allowed to compete at the Olympics.
Will she want to? I don't know.
Probably. She'll probably, I mean.
You think so? After that skate, I feel like I want to go. I don't know. I mean, I almost hope that she can rebound, but I don't know. I feel like that would just be like,
yeah, and I
how
think
do you
I'm
get
trying to
back?
think of like, yeah, that sort of, stereotype with especially the Russian skaters, were like, oh, they can withstand anything. But at the end of the day, you kind of have to peel back the layers of the onion and realize these are just teenage girls.
Yeah.
Right? They're teenagers and they're going through this really traumatic, like all of them, not even just Kamila, but all of the Russian girls are going through this really traumatic time in their lives. And it's like, okay, like this will obviously become a core memory. Like, okay, you go through this traumatic time in your teenage life, and now you are going to associate your Olympic experiences with all of this drama, all of this,
and figure skating in general with that too.
And that is true. Figure skating in general too, and it's just really disappointing to see for all of the skaters.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know what will happen with the rules and all that, but I do hope we see Kamila back. And we talk about that, right? It's like especially like the last competition you do, or maybe I can like speak to this more as I'm like years out of retirement. I don't know. I feel like it is really important, or the last maybe major competition. Like for me, I think my life actually and my relationship with skating would have been completely different if I had, for example, not like I barely just made it to the senior nationals that year, and had a great like pretty much clean skates, and I felt so emotional and so empowered by that. If that hadn't happened, I didn't make nationals the year prior because I got like fifth at sectional or whatever, and then before that I was a novice or whatever. Like I think just having that last nationals be such an important part of like one of the happiest moments in my life, that is why I'm still like coming back to it and doing all this, you know what I mean? And still like, trying to get like, I don't know, insert myself back and just like feel like this is such an amazing part of my life in a way. But if the last memory you have is like meltdown in front of the whole world, you know what I mean, on Olympics, like I can't imagine that being a very happy memory of this whole sport that was like your entire life up to that point. So anyways, I hope she can come back. Like I don't know if she'll be banned, or I don't know what will happen. I don't know. If anything, I would rather like a Terry or someone be banned and like let her come back. I don't know, but yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, and I also just think that they're bringing up, her age and sort of this mental repercussions that would happen if they, had her go home. But if they're gonna keep that same sort of, bullet point that they checked off her age, the mental repercussions, you know what I mean? Will she really be banned? And again, you got to look at it from more than just, okay, what happened? She took a drug. Who knows if she knew what was in it or not? Like no one's really gonna know. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it really is the adults that failed the community, the Russian community, which there should be some repercussions. Okay, but let's say all these skaters lose their coaches, all right? They're not allowed to maybe represent Russia or like take their athletes to international competitions, right?
Yeah.
But then and what are they gonna do? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know.
There's
it's
like
a
lot of working pieces that like I don't even know. I don't even know what to say.
Yeah. We'll
it's
just
really
have to
dramatic.
see what happens. Yeah. And it's in the power of not really muddying other people besides these governing bodies, and hopefully they'll make the right decisions or the best decisions. But I wanted to ask you, speaking of potential, like, is Kamila gonna skate again? Like, out of some of these top skaters, let's like the top 7, like, who do you see? I mean, it's impossible to predict, but I don't know. What would you predict in terms of who's gonna keep competing? Let's say try to make the next Olympics. Who's just done? What do you think?
Okay, well, going on past Russian, statistics, usually after one Olympics, they're done, right? So if that's going to be the same case with this, who knows? Maybe Trusova's like, she's really salty. You know what I mean? She's really salty about this Olympics. She didn't win a gold, right? That was her whole thing. Will she try again for the next Olympics? You know what I mean? But can her body withstand doing
all those
the same level of quads 4 years from now? Like,
I don't know.
That's insane.
That would be insane.
She's, in reality, she's not Yuzuru Hanyu, right? And even Yuzuru at this point in time is like...
Or Nathan Chen, really.
Or Nathan. Yeah, you're right. And she's not like a full grown man.
Yeah.
She's again still a teenager. And then 4 years from now, what's from young age like that? I don't know. I think Young would probably go again. But moving on.
Anyways, moving on. Yeah, we're back.
Again, I think the Russians are gonna go. Besides, maybe Trusova will try again, but I think Anna's like gold. I'm out. Respectfully, Kaori.
She might be
I
done.
want her to keep on going because I really like her as a skater. But I just don't know if going for another Olympics. Maybe she'll like keep on competing, but maybe she won't go for another Olympics.
Yeah, because 4 years is a long
what I mean?
time. Yeah. I would love to see young you on the podium next Olympics. Honestly, if Sasha can make it 4 years, I would love to see her like win that gold next time. Maybe she's improved her components by then. Wakaba, I don't know. And then I think Alyssa is someone who it seemed like in a lot of ways maybe she like wasn't sure if she wants to compete. I don't know. There's like murmurings or whatever, but I don't know. She had such an Olympic moment this time. So whatever she was thinking before, I wonder if she'll change her mind. But I guess we'll just have to find out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about? I mean, do you want to end the video now? Because we could talk about Beverly. I don't know her Chinese name. What's her Chinese name?
Oh yeah. I don't actually know how to pronounce it, but it's like Y-I like E or Jui or Jui maybe. I don't know. Anyways,
Beverly
Zhu.
I think we should just shout her out because
yes.
Beverly, honestly, coming back from that team event, and again another really like dramatic event based on Chinese public and Chinese media, right? And just getting all of that hate. Okay, like for what is it? Over 280 million people watched her her program
Implode,
and was commenting. Yeah. And to come back, and I really feel like she proved those people wrong and really just stood up for her performances. She really fought, and I think that is definitely a get up moment.
Yeah, it was. Although she didn't make it into the free, I'm almost glad she didn't because I was like just scared for her. I was like, give this girl a break. Yeah. Yeah,
and I do think with that there comes a lot of like political things that go on with the government there and everything. But again, I'm just really glad that she was able to like push through and skate like one last great program of the season.
Yeah,
so
I agree. Yeah. Okay, maybe last question for you. What was your favorite skate of the event?
My favorite skate of the event, I'm gonna say it's Kaori's.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest, she was my favorite skater of the Olympics, and I think especially her moments of celebration were so pure, and I feel like a lot of us can relate to just having those moments of just being like, yes, I did it. This is the best that I could do, and just being really proud of yourself. Yeah. And I think that sort of just being able to watch that unfold made me like her Olympic experiences even more. And but yeah, no, just overall, she was such a great skater at this Olympics. So kind of sad that it's over and I can't watch it.
Yeah,
but
I think I'll say the same. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of great moments, but I feel like she represents a lot of what I love about skating, and it just seems like really great athlete, and great to see her on the podium. And she was like the only person who was like crying because she was happy after that. I was like, okay, well, she had the moment at least.
Yeah. Did you talk about the whole unwinding of the events already? Like after?
Yeah. A little bit, but let's get your thoughts on it. Like, I don't know. What are your thoughts? Okay. And this could tie into, for example, if you like, I don't know, what do you think you want to see changed in the sport? If it ties into that. Otherwise, or you can just comment on whatever you want to comment on.
Okay, yeah. So obviously after, you know, Kamila finished skating and there was the whole like fiasco, I felt really bad for Anna because she just looked like a deer in the headlights standing there. Like no one was, you know, there to congratulate her after her program. Everyone, like all the coaches are with the two girls, Kamila and Alexandra, who were, you know, obviously bawling their eyes out. And especially for Kamila, if that's understandable, you know what I mean? She was in first place after the short program and, you know, making that many mistakes, really unexpected mistakes in her long program and then finishing right below the podium can be really emotional for someone like her. And, but Alexandra, Johnny was translating and saying that she was like, everyone else is a gold medal but me, everyone else is a gold medal but me. And I think at the end of the day, like these girls train really hard, right? And not being first is a disappointment for them, but at the same time, you've got to take what you did and appreciate it. You know what I mean? Because who knows if you're going to get another Olympic experience.
And you still got a silver medal.
And a silver medal. That's, you know, second. Okay. There's like some sort of psychological thing with people being like, well, I got second.
Third is better than second.
First. Yeah. But still, if you really take it like as an overall experience, getting a silver medal at the Olympics is people's dream. Just even be there. Right. And her, you know, crying, and it was, I don't want to say they have to be professional all the time, but that sort of scene that she made after the event with cameras and, you know, people there, it was really, really unprofessional and definitely put like a horrible light on skating as a whole as a sport that's really dramatic and people are always crying and, you know, stuff like that, because that's not true.
Well, it's called like Kiss and Cry for a reason. But on the flip side, I think that for one, you know, she's young and that's just the emotions, and I can't even imagine, you know, we don't know her training environment. I think that speaks maybe to her personality, but also just like what kind of pressure and what was she under for her to crack like that after, you know what I mean? I feel like that's, you know, look at the 3 Russian women who are all from the same coach and like how that ended up on the cameras for everyone to see at the Olympics. Like, I think it is partially a product of the training environment. And you know what? Also, what if that sheds light on some of the things that are wrong with this sport and makes things get better in front of everyone to see? Although of course I feel so bad, and then she had to, you know, have all the cameras on her when she probably didn't want to at that moment. But maybe that will lead for like, I don't know. But the professionalism, and I think you guys are similar in age, so maybe you can like give her a harder time. I would just felt so bad for her. You know what I mean? I was just like, poor girl.
Yeah, I know. But, you know, if you take it from an age standpoint and, you know, even for me, I don't think I would have personally acted that way. I mean, again, we were raised in the same training environment by the same coaches, you know, in the same country, waking up at the same times, doing, you know, whatever, the same thing. We're like completely opposite, right? So that sort of cultural difference could also play a huge role in this. But I just feel like from a standpoint of just common courtesy or even just sportsmanship, right? You got to keep everything to yourself when you're being broadcasted on national
and you're representing
television.
You know, your
country. And they're not necessarily representing the country, but basically representing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Russia and just kind of the skating community as a whole. But yeah, I don't know. It was really disappointing. And then, you know, when they were going on the podium and she was screaming at volunteers. I'm not going to go on.
Yeah.
That was...
There was reports...
Like those volunteers did nothing.
Yeah, the volunteers. Yeah. I don't know if it was yelling at the volunteers. It was almost like comedic. It was really sad, but like she was yelling at Terry, and then this volunteer's like talking to her, and then someone translated, and she's like, I don't speak English, but she was like nice enough. She's like yelling, and she's like, I don't speak English. Also, I think there's reports that she'd stay into the rink until 3 a.m. that night and like wouldn't go back, and then Terry
Yeah.
had to drag her back and all this stuff. I don't know. Skating shouldn't be like that, you know, especially if you got a silver medal. Like, yeah.
Yeah. And
Sad.
this is definitely not a joking matter, but you know, especially our Gen Zs, we would call that like the villain origin story.
The villain origin story?
The villain
No
origin
way. Well, she was
story.
Cruella
But
before.
I'm not calling her a villain,
Yeah.
but it's just kind of like this, you know, modern saying. But but yeah, I know for someone to be going through something like that and then staying at the rink until 3 a.m., the same rink with the volunteers and her coaches and everyone, staying there waiting for this girl to leave. Like, imagine, you know, what she was probably saying to them when they're like, these volunteers, like, they have families. They want to go home,
Yeah.
right? They want to go home. They're here to, like, help the sport, help all the skaters, but that's really extreme. You know what I mean? And especially how much later that was after the event. There's definitely a period of like, you know, anger and then, you know, acceptance and everything. But like for her to win a silver medal and still be that disappointed that even like almost 5 hours or however long it was after she's finished competing to still be at that sort of like height of emotion, it just says a lot about, you know, what she was going through. So.
Yeah. And when she was yelling at Terry, and you know, we can all theorize about all these things, but she was like, you knew everything, you knew everything. I think it's more just like, I think they were all three of them were bred to be Olympic gold medalists. All three of them were told that they could be, which was true. All three of them could have been. And I think that as a coach, you kind of have to do that. What else can you? You can't be like, you're not going to win gold. You know what I mean? Or you're not the favorite.
You're going to be first. You're going to be second.
Yeah.
And you'll be third. Like,
yeah, especially when you don't even know. Everyone thought Kamila would be first. So I get that, and it felt like kind of a betrayal because I think that seems like Sasha partially moved back to a Terry because of basically a Terry bonus and like the politics that can get you to the Olympics and make you like, you know, win the Olympics and all of that. So I feel like after all of that, everything that she'd been through, she still didn't win. But yeah, you're right. I don't know. I'll leave it to you to be harsher. I just felt bad for her.
Yeah, no, and I'm sure a lot of the public, it does feel really bad for her.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying that it'll feel bad for her.
But you
I'm
also
just saying, like,
have represented USA at international events. You know what it's like as a young girl as well yourself, or as you know what I mean, a young woman. And so there is a certain degree that you have to, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, Dan,
this was a lot.
Wild ride.
Yeah, this whole week.
It's a lot.
We'll see.
But I don't know if this is true or not. I would have to do more research on this, and maybe you're a little bit more knowledgeable. But the drug that was being administered to the girls, I think there was a study. I've got to find the exact study, but one of the side effects being like heightened emotions. So I'm not
the
saying
trimetazidine one that Kamila
true.
took, or some of the other ones that were like legal.
There were 3 drugs.
There was 3 that Kamila took.
It's...
I don't think they didn't say if the other girls. I don't think they said that they were taking it, but it's like could be assumed if they're like legal heart meds and Kamila didn't have any issues. Why wouldn't they be getting the legal ones? I don't know.
I've got to do a little bit more research on this, but there was a possible side effect to one of the drugs of being like heightened emotions. So I'm not saying that.
Well, I don't know. It's the Olympics.
Who knows?
Like, who knows?
Who knows what's going on?
Who knows what's going on? And I hope that we'll find out more. I hope it doesn't get brushed under the rug.
I hope so too. And I think this is definitely a slap in the face for figure skating as a whole, and that things need to change. Okay,
yeah,
there was that jump rule that was with pre-rotation that was introduced how many years ago, and then they were like, you know what? No, we're gonna do this after the Olympics. Okay, the Olympics are over. We're waiting for the changes. We're waiting for something. I mean, it just ended, but based on, you know, past records of new rules being added and sort of leveling the playing field,
Mm-hmm.
it's not, doesn't have the greatest track record.
Yeah.
So
I agree. Well, hopefully things get better, and you know what? Maybe you're going to be leading the way. You have so many great ideas, Callista. So love to see that. But yeah, so we'll see. But yeah,
yeah,
thank you so much for coming on, Callista. And yeah, I guess I'll stop the recording now.
sounds good.
Yay.
Wait.
Oh, wait.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, of course. Okay, how do I stop this thing? Let's see. Stop.
Recording stopped.
Okay. If you like this video, smash that like button, subscribe to my channel, and turn on that notification bell. See you next time.